الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على سيد الأنبياء والمرسلين أما بعد فأعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. I begin first and foremost to extend my gratitude and thankfulness to our honorable teacher, Huzur Mufti Abu Barakat Muhammad Munawwar Atiq Sahib, Damat Barakatun Aliyah, who, although I'm not worthy of this honor, has given me this honor, an opportunity to speak on awliya at the blessed course of Al-Hajj Bir Ghulam Muhyiddin Rahmatullahi Ta'ala alayhi and Mufti Sahib's blessed grandfather Faqih Azam Mufti Fazl Ilahi Naqshbandi Rahmatullahi Ta'ala alayhi. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gives ability to learn of their message and act upon their way and attain the pleasure of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in the Noble Quran refers to a group of people, elite people, a people of a special rank, in many different verses and in many different descriptions. For example, He subhanahu wa ta'ala says, عباد الرحمن الذين يمشون على الأرض هونا. عباد الرحمن, the distinguished servants of the most merciful, those who walk on the earth with humility. In other verses, He subhanahu wa ta'ala refers to them as the awliya of Allah. In other verses, He subhanahu wa ta'ala refers to them as mustaghfireen, those who seek forgiveness. In other verses, He subhanahu wa ta'ala refers to them as ulama, people of knowledge. The point is, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala refers to this elite group of people with many titles. In Jazbul Qulub ila Diyar al-Mahbub Shah Abdul Haq Muhaddis Dahelwi Rahmatullahi Ta'ala alayhi. This is a book which is about the description of Medina al-Munawwara, the history of Medina al-Munawwara, the many different names of Medina al-Munawwara, Zadahallahu Sharafan wa Ta'zima. In this book, in the first section, which is about the blessed names of Medina, Shah Sahib Rahmatullahi Ta'ala alayhi mentions this point. And he says that the more names a thing has indicates upon its honor, and the more the names are, the greater the honor that thing has. The more names it has, the greater an honor this thing has. And he uses this rule and applies it to Medina al-Munawwara. And he says Medina al-Munawwara has many names, and he begins to list the names. This indicates the great esteem of this blessed land in the court of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Likewise, this elite group of people have been honored with many names in the Noble Quran, indicating to their great esteem in the court of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Ibadur Rahman, Awliyaullah, Ulama, Mustaghfireen. From these titles, from these names, the most common of the names is a name that we use often, the most mashhur is Awliya. So we refer to them as the Awliyaullah. From all of these, this is the one we use. Awliya is the jama, the plural of wali. And for the few moments I will speak about this wali. What is wali? Wali, when we look at the definition, you will find many different definitions, but the differences are very slight. The main definition is all the same. The main definition of wali you'll find is the same. In the commentary of Arba'in, the 40 hadith of Imam Nawawi, known as Al-Jawahir al-Lu'lu'iyya, the commentator, he gives the definition of wali under the 38th hadith of Arba'in, which is a very famous hadith, Man aada li waliyan faqad aadhantuhu bil harb. The famous hadith that whomsoever holds enmity with a friend of mine, I declare war on him. One point to remember before I continue regarding this hadith. Mufti Ahmad Naimi rahimahullah ta'ala, in his commentary of this hadith, in his commentary of Mishkat, he mentions that there have only ever been two types of people who Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has declared war on. There have only been two types of people Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala declares His war on. Declares harb, war on them. The first of this group, or first type of these two people, is that person who leaves paying his zakat. The person who does not pay his zakat, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala announces His war on such an individual. And the second person is this person, the one who has enmity with the friend of Allah. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala announces war on him. To continue in the commentary, the definition of wali is mentioned. هو العارف بما يجب لله وما يجوز وما يستحيل والمواظب على الطاعات والمجتنب عن المعاصي. This is a definition given to wali, and this is very similar to the definition given in Al-Aqaid al-Nasafiyya with a slight difference. Let's look into this. There's three parts to this definition. The first of them is a person who understands, he is arif with that which is wajib for Allah, that which is possible for Allah, and that which is in the right of Allah impossible. This is the knowledge of a wali. He has knowledge of these three aspects. A question might come to mind. How can you say something is wajib for Allah? How is this possible? You can't say something is necessary for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The answer to this isn't the wajib that we think. When we think something is wajib, we think of our thinking of this wajib is wajib shar'i. This wajib is wajib shar'i. This is wajib which has been stipulated by the sharia. But when wujub is referred to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, it's not wajib shar'i, it's not wajib which has been stipulated by the sharia. This is wajib aqali, a rational necessity. Rationally, it is necessary for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to, for example, exist. So these three, the wajibat, the necessaries, the possible and the impossible, to know and to have knowledge of this is the sign of a wali. The second is al-muwadhibu ala ta'at, a person who persistently performs good deeds and obedience of Allah. A man who continuously obeys Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And the third and the final part of the definition, al-mujtanibu anil ma'asi, he abstains from disobeying Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The first point regarding this definition I'd like for you to think about is that each one of these sections of the definition requires for the wali to have ilm, requires for the wali to have knowledge. How can he have ma'rifah, understanding of ma yajibu alayhi wa ma yastahilu wa ma yajuzu? How can he have understanding of this without having knowledge? So to have knowledge of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is necessary for a wali. The second was to perform obedient actions. If he doesn't have knowledge of obedient actions, how can he perform obedient actions? Hence, he must have knowledge of this as well. And then to abstain from disobedience. How can he abstain from disobedience when he does not have knowledge of what is disobeying Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? Hence, luzuman, it has been proven that a wali must also be a alim. It's mentioned in the very same commentary, al-Jawahir al-Lu'iyya, فَلَا يَكُونُ الْوَلِيُّ إِلَّا عَالِمًا. A wali is only a alim. Every wali is an alim. This relationship between being a wali and being an alim in mantiq, this is called umum wa khusus mutlaq. In very simple terms, every wali is an alim, but not every alim is a wali. That's what it means. So every single wali he will be an alim. And the second point derived from this definition is, tell me, did we say al-waliyu huwa al-mashi ala al-ma'? A wali is a person who walks on water? No. Neither did we say a wali is a person who sits in the middle of the air. Karamat, to perform actions which break the norms of nature, is not part of the definition of wali. So do not look for miracles from a person and then make these miracles a means for this person becoming a wali. Our Imam, Khwaja Bayazid Bastami Rahmatullahi Ta'ala alayhi, he says, لو نظرتم إلى رجل أعطي من الكرامات. If you see a man who has been given miracles, حتى تربع في الهواء, and his miracles reach such a level that he is sitting, تربع means to sit cross-legged. His miracles reach such a degree that he is sitting cross-legged in the middle of the air. فَلَا تَقْتَدَوْا بِهِ. Don't start following him. Don't start following him. حَتَّى تَنْظُرُوا كَيْفَ تَجِدُونَهُ عِنْدَ الْأَمْرِ وَالنَّهِي وَحِفْظِ الْحُدُودِ وَآدَابِ الشَّرِيعَةِ. If you see a person performing miraculous incidents, miraculous actions, don't begin to follow him until you see how you have found him with the commands of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, with the prohibitions of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, how he preserves the limitations of the sacred law, and how he upholds the etiquettes of the Sharia. When you see this, then then you can follow him. Then you can follow him. So these are 2 points that came from the definition of wali, that every wali is an alim, and karama is not a sign of wilaya. And I'll conclude with just a very brief discussion on karama. Some people deny the concept of karama. Karama in English we call this miracle, but in Arabic language there's 5 types of them. Some ulama make more. There are 5 types of them depending who performs this miraculous action. If this miraculous action is performed by a nabi, a prophet, after he proclaims his prophethood, this action is called a mu'jiza. It is called a mu'jiza. Some people, we talk about awliya and we say he performed the mu'jiza. This is incorrect. This is incorrect usage of this word. Likewise, we talk about other normal Muslims and we say he performed a mu'jiza. This usage of mu'jiza is only for anbiya. And if a nabi performs a miracle before announcing prophethood, it's called irhas. If a wali performs a miracle, it's called karama. If a normal Muslim performs a miracle, it's called ma'una. And if a fasiq or a kafir performs a miraculous action, it's called istidraj. Now, Imam al-Nasafi, Maymun ibn Muhammad al-Nasafi, rahimahullah ta'ala in Bahr al-Kalam, I remember just a few days ago, Shaykh will remember, I bought this book and I messaged Shaykh, taking permission if I can read this book. And he said it's a good book, so I started reading this book. And it's got a section about the karamat of awliya. And he says that the Mu'tazila, the Jahmiya, and the Rawafid or Rafida, they deny karamat. And the reason for denying karamat is, if we say that karamat is an established thing, then there's no difference between the karamat of the awliya and the mu'jizat of the anbiya. That's the reason for denying. The Imam, he says there are many differences. And he presents 3 differences between a karamat of a wali and a mu'jiza of a nabi. I'll present one of them. He says the difference between a mu'jiza, a miraculous action of a prophet, and a karamat of a wali, a miraculous action of a wali, the difference is the nabi can perform his mu'jiza whenever he wants. The nabi can perform his mu'jiza whenever he wants. Hence people would come to the Prophet ﷺ and ask for miracles, and he would perform miracles at his own accord ﷺ. Whereas a wali performs his karamat, his miraculous actions at specific moments. He cannot perform the miracles at every single moment. That's the difference. And to conclude, no wali can ever supersede and surpass a nabi. As mentioned by Imam Tahawi in his matan, we've studied this in our previous 3rd year, the matan of Imam Tahawi and also the matan of Sunusiya al-Barahin. Imam Tahawi mentions this. He says, لا نفضل أحدا من الأولياء على أحد من الأنبياء. We do not give virtue to any single wali over any single nabi. Then he says, نقول, we say, نبي واحد أفضل من جميع الأولياء. A single nabi is greater than every single wali. A single Nabi is greater than every single wali. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give us all the ability to study our religion, to pass on the message, and to rectify ourselves and our communities. Ameen. Bijahi Nabi Ameen. Sallallahu alayhi wa sallam.